11.C10. Any additions to the agenda from administration?
Yes, Your Worship. Can we add 80 Calm Ridge Road under delegation as B? And under new business, can we add council representation project post? RCMP staffing, and if we could move this to 7B, please. And then...
Sorry, to 7B?
7B.
B for Bob.
Which is Lambert Center right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then update on street sweeping. Councillor Hamilton had asked for an update on that.
That's it?
That's everything.
Okay, Councillor Sobel?
I have nothing here, Your Worship.
Councillor Rocky?
Your Worship, I have United Way.
Okay. Where do you want us to put that in? Do you want to do that under committee, or is that committee, part of committee report? Or?
Yep, this one. I have an amendment to the minutes made at the May 4th council meeting.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we call for the adoption of minutes. Oh, you can, yes.
And I have a prepared statement I want to read off. What am I doing now?
Okay.
On 10?
Yeah. We'll have that right after we do the documents. And also, anybody that has any comments to make with Slade Lake, we'll do that at the same time. Before we get going with the meeting. Councillor Hamilton?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Councillor Field?
Parks, questions concerning parks and the birth force.
We'll do that under 9B.
Okay.
Motion to adopt.
I'll move that the agenda be adopted as amended.
All in favor? Okay, previous minutes. May 4th committee to hold.
I'll make a motion that the council approve the minutes of the May 4th, 2011 committee of the whole meeting number 11-W09.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. May 4th regular council meeting.
Prior to a motion being made on to adopt those, there are two amendments, Your Worship, and I think Councillor Blockman has the first one.
Your Worship, I'd like to amend the motion made by myself regarding residential irrigation on the May 4th meeting. The correct wording on that motion should read, as I read it off, that council reinstate the residential irrigation system for 2011 for a maximum cost of up to $100,000, with the town to contribute 20% and the users to pay 80%, and the town to also pay $11,250 towards the screens and valves for 2011 only, with a deadline of June 15th, 2011 for sign-up.
And in addition, Your Worship, in the minutes located on page 17, under the previous motion that has been replaced now, it is recorded that I was opposed to that motion, and I wish to amend that to being for that motion. My vote at that vote was for the motion as read by Councillor Blackman.
Jared, we'll carry on with the approval of the minutes.
With that, Your Worship, I would move that the minutes of May 4th, 2011 regular council meeting 11-C09 as amended be approved.
All in favor? Carried. Administrative meeting.
I move the May 11th, 2011 administrative meeting 11-A05 be approved.
All in favor? Carried. And now we're going to break tradition a little bit. Councillor Rocky has a statement that he wants to get off his chest, I guess. You want to read?
Thank you, Your Worship. Fellow councillors, administration, public. I, Rocky Blackland, as a councillor for the town of Strathmore, would like to read the following statement. As we watch the tragic events close by around us, including the flooding in BC and Manitoba, closer to home, not too far from here, fires that have devastated 40 to 50% of the entire town of Slave Lake, I would like to ask sincerely the citizens and taxpayers of Strathmore to have some patience, resilience, and common understanding. We're all upset at a number of issues in Strathmore. Mistakes have been made. We as council and administration are working through hard to resolve these issues for the betterment of you, the citizens of the town of Strathmore. When you really think about it, look around us, and we don't have it all that bad here. Remember, Strathmore is a place where quality of life is a way of life. Thank you, Councillor Blackman.
While we're doing statements here, is there anybody on council that would like to make a statement regarding Slave Lake or the disaster that's ongoing in northern Alberta? Councillor Sobel.
I think it was Councillor.
Yeah, you had nothing to add.
No, I think Councillor Hamilton will sum it up.
Yeah, Your Worship, just briefly, I would like to make a suggestion. We discussed this at the Chamber of Commerce in regards to donations for the victims of fires in Slave Lake to possibly set up an area where it would be donated either to the Red Cross or the Salvation Army, and put it out to the public and challenge the public to make donations, whether it be cash or somebody was mentioning that what was required was kitchen utensils. Is something that's desperately needed in Slave Lake. Either that or clothing. If we could have somebody possibly, like I said, put a challenge out to the public to make those donations, and if administration would accept the donations here at the town of Strathmore, we could make a report back to the public how much has been donated or collected. The time frame, I don't know what type of time frame you'd be looking at, but it could be advertised in the paper on the website and go from there. Having lived up in that area, I know it's a devastation. I've gone through a couple of forest fires. Witnessing forest fires myself, it's quite devastating. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councillor Shield, did you have anything to add to that?
No, Your Worship.
If I may, I had something that I wanted to add to it, and I just like to read that. Our hearts go out to the people of Slave Lake. Many of them have not only lost everything that they had, but lost their jobs as well due to the raging fire that swept through their town. Fortunately, it appears that nobody perished in this firestorm. We want to extend our feelings of sorrow to the people of Slave Lake that in some cases have lost everything that they have ever worked for. We will be drafting up a letter to the Mayor and Council of Slave Lake expressing our heartfelt sorrow for the devastating fire and offering our support to help them get back on their feet. There appears to be close connection with many families from Slave Lake and families from Strathmore. Every day I hear of more families from Strathmore that have family members, relatives, or friends that were affected by this fire. To start a relief effort, I'm asking all agencies and service clubs to please consider doing so. Many families in Strathmore have loved ones in Slave Lake that lost everything. For that reason alone, I believe that there will be a tremendous response from our community. In the meantime, our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Slave Lake as they struggle to cope with this devastating loss. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Very good.
Hopefully they get a lot of support from our town. Okay, on to delegations. Cooters and Wheatland Inn. Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of that?
I will, Worship.
Do you want to come forward and introduce yourself? Give us your name and your address, please,
Okay.
for the record.
Darlene Bays, Building Manager, 10631 Westlake Glen. Okay, pardon me?
Good evening.
Hi. I'm not much of a public speaker, and I don't know how I got this job, but there's been several complaints from my tenants of disruption of sleep. I heard this evening, in fact, as far over as the courtyard, which is 4 blocks away from Cooters Bar, that they are also being disturbed. The RCMP have been called numerous times. They have been fined continuously, and it's doing absolutely no good. Unfortunately, as soon as the officers leave, they just turn up the music even louder. I understand that they are a commercial property and they have every right to making a business and a profit and that sort of stuff. But there's also, you mentioned a quality of life. I believe that we are also entitled to a quality of life. And I have, when you're sleeping or trying to do your job with 5 hours sleep, because the bar doesn't close until after 2 o'clock, you're up at 7 and you have to work at 8 to go to work and work 8 hours. We have nurses in there that are trying to sleep. It's just not working. I understand that they've been in business for 30 years, but it's never been to this extent. I've lived in those buildings for 5 years, going on 6 years now, and I've never had to go through this. We are going to lose revenue. We're going to lose good tenants, and then what's going to happen to those buildings there? There's 3 buildings in a cluster. One is 100 Westlake Mews, and the other 2 buildings are considered 31 Westlake Glen. So there's 3 apartment buildings in that same cluster.
The only thing that I am aware of that we can do is try to enforce the noise bylaw. I don't know if there's anything else that we can do in order to interfere or whatever with what they're doing there.
Okay, they were given a license to open and to be a bar. Could there not have been something in there to stipulate that they had to put up a sound barrier or some sort of soundproofing?
Well, yeah, I think everybody by our laws and bylaws are required to adhere to the noise bylaw. And so when they exceed that, then we have to rely on the authorities to be, that they'll go out there and enforce it.
Yeah, question through the chair, Darlene, there, is this a headbanger bar, or how, I've just seen it open up here recently, is it country and western, or
No, it's mostly the bang bang music.
headbanger, right?
When they actually have a live band in there, and I've seen them unload equipment, it's not that way at all. You can survive over there. And it's tolerable. But when they have the DJ in there, and like I said, as soon as the officers leave, they just turn it up louder because they already been fined $500, so they don't really care anymore. In one evening, they've had 4 RCMP calls to them in one evening for noise. There has to be something that we can do.
Is it every night or just weekends?
They did it on a Monday night at 1:45 in the morning. They've done it on a Thursday night, from Thursday night on. And now I understand that they are opening an outdoor bar.
Ouch. Well, I sympathize with you 100% because, most councils so well, I've been on the enforcement end of it, so we know what you're going through, so. In our past history, past lives, so.
Well, and that's exactly what the problem is, Darlene. It's an enforcement issue. It's not a regulatory issue. We don't have a magic wand to make these places disappear. We just don't. We have there are regulations and rules as to what kind of what commercial businesses have to go through to get a license. They have complied, and if they choose to be in violation of the bylaws, then it becomes an enforcement issue. And I dare say though that getting a piece of paper telling someone that they owe some money is far different than writing a check. So the writing the check part is going to catch up soon. It takes a little time for these matters to get through court system. But once this starts going through the court system, I dare say that you may see a big difference. That doesn't satisfy your needs right now, and I do empathize. I think it's terrible that there would be this kind of ignorance of what people are going through. But I don't know what we can do except urge you to continue to call the authorities when this is becoming an issue. The fines do get bigger. The fine for one time is so much, but the second time is a little bit more expensive, and they're going to find out that it's not worth having this aggravation because they won't be making any money on it.
What are the bylaws of hours of operation for a commercial? I looked through the bylaws here and I can't find them that they actually have a time that they are supposed to be running.
It's not established by us, though.
It's provincial.
That's provincial. It's Liquor and Gaming Act, Liquor and Gaming Control, and certainly that might be a recourse for you is to contact Liquor and Gaming.
Question to the chair to administration: is there any way we can review their license and maybe put some stipulations on them as far as noise is concerned, or is that out of our scope?
No, unless something changes where they would be required to apply for a new development permit. The use, it's a permitted use, it's been in operation for a number of years.
Just a question.
Yeah.
When they go to the outside, to the patio, or whatever they want to call that outside bar, do they need is there something else that they have to apply for to the town?
Yes, absolutely. They would have to apply for an outdoor patio, and at that time we could regulate the hours just for the outdoor patio. And that would probably follow our noise bylaw, where they would have to be inside the premises by, I believe it's 11 o'clock.
That's still late.
But that's what I'm trying to establish. By going through the bylaws, I can't see where they're even under any stipulation. Is it 11 o'clock?
For an outdoor?
Yes.
Yes, and that would be in the noise bylaw. And that would also be it would be a condition that would be attached to a development permit.
But that, the noise bylaw takes effect, as you say, 11 p.m. That doesn't matter whether it's indoors or outdoors when it's too noisy.
That's right, but if a development permit were issued, you could regulate that the hours of operation for the outside
Yes.
and that people
But
would have to be.
getting back to the noise from the inside coming out.
That's the noise bylaw, it's not a development.
Yes, and that noise should not exceed whatever certain decibels after 11 p.m. And if it does, then that's when we call the authorities. 10 p.m. Okay. Councilor Field, you have.
Well, I was just gonna say, it would be great if we had the power to just step in and say, shut down or else, or quiet down, but it does have to, because they fulfilled all the requirements of being a bar, and it's been a bar for 28 years, as long as I've lived here, there's been a bar there. This one happens to be one that's really loud and excessively loud, so they'd have to be hit, I think, on the noise bylaw. That's where they can be gotten right now, because we can't just say, unless you're quiet, we shut you down. We don't have that power, because they fulfilled what they needed to fulfill for their business license. So I think that the main thing is the noise bylaws and the escalating fines that they'll keep getting, especially if they go to outside patio and have to come forward for a business license for that. Then we can really go after them as far as the noise bylaw. But as far as the noise being generated from inside to outside, again, it has to be a noise bylaw situation with enforcement. I wish we could say, you guys are way too loud, these people can't sleep, we're gonna shut you down to us, or we're gonna cut your noise down, or make you quit earlier. We just don't have that kind of power.
But what happens to the person that works shift work, and the person that doesn't work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday? Alberta has changed it considerably over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
That people work shift work, whether it's the Tim Hortons gal that's down here, or it's myself that works shift work, or our nurses, or, peace officers that work shift work. I mean, we don't work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So
No, I
we
totally
are not
agree.
entitled to a quality of life.
You are, and unfortunately, because they fulfilled what they needed to do to get their business license, it's something that we can only go after them for certain things if they break certain bylaws, like the noise bylaw, for example.
Okay, so if they continuously break this noise bylaw, then our town council can step in?
Well, I think Councillor Sobel's comments are pretty accurate. They would continue to receive escalating fines until, I would think, it's got to hurt them in the pocketbook. And the noise bylaw, you said, Councillor Sobel, is 10 p.m.?
Yes.
So if they exceed the 10 p.m. noise bylaw, then they would be receiving fines, I would guess. I would assume.
And they have been.
And then, pardon me?
And they have been receiving fines.
No, I sympathize wholeheartedly with you, and I think, like Councilor Sobel said, our only action is through enforcement, whether it be through our peace officers, RCMP, and we should be reporting this to the Alberta Liquor and Gaming Commission as well. Just a question to you: have you spoken with the owners at all, or is that like talking to a wall? Maybe you could approach them too, try that, and see. I don't know. I probably know the answer right now, because
But worth it, it's certainly worth a try. I mean, we should be aware that
They tell the officers a different story than what
Oh, yeah.
they actually really do.
Your Worship, if I may, the bylaw you're looking for is 05-17. And if administration would be as kind as to print off a copy for this lady mate, perhaps you can pick that up tomorrow. We'll have a copy for you at the front counter.
Oh, I can find it on me. But it doesn't say, I see the commercial, I see the...
Commercial zone, that's one of the problems, yeah.
Right.
It's zoned commercially.
Okay. I can probably find it.
But it's still, they're still under the regulations of the bylaw in regards to noise.
Because they are still in town limits,
That's
whether
right.
they're commercial or
Yeah,
not. They
yeah,
are still
yeah.
within our town limits.
Yeah,
Am
and
I correct on that?
hence the reason why they're getting all these tickets.
Okay.
Councillor Rocky.
Sorry, I know,
Did you have anything?
we don't have a magic pill here,
Your
folks.
worship, after you asked the question, and Councillor Huntman asked the question, I was gonna ask.
Hopefully we've helped you.
Not much, but.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it.
I just hate to use our CMP officers continuously for stuff like this. I'd rather them out be doing something important like,
I agree.
helping people somewhere.
I agree, but you know
on the
what?
road.
This is important as well. Believe me, this is important, and that's what they're there for, and that's what our enforcement, this is exactly the way the system works. When it's an enforcement issue, you get the enforcement people working on it. Unfortunately, this isn't a...
But shouldn't they be keeping their patrons inside the bar? I mean, that's...
Law enforcement, so.
Not necessarily, no. You can't, that's called kidnapping.
You should move back to Calgary because they have laws that they enforce.
Glenda, you have something to add?
Worship, can I just make a suggestion for what it's worth? Would it be helpful if maybe a letter came from the town just mentioning that we have received several complaints and asking if they would voluntarily do something about the noise as good neighbors?
I would appreciate that.
It's a great idea, sure.
I think the tenants would appreciate that. We could maybe see if they will work with, if they've got it from somebody, from an authority, that maybe they would comply to.
The unfortunate part is kids nowadays start going out at 10 and 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
They don't go out at 6 or 8.
And you were saying the other establishment wasn't as bad as
No,
this.
and it was rumors.
So this is one where if we can specifically deal with them with a letter right from the town and mayor, the council and mayor, hopefully that would be a great starting point to change their tactics.
And like I said, I mean, unfortunately, as soon as the officers leave, they just turn it up louder.
Yeah. I see the press is diligently making notes, so if it hits the paper too, they might get the message.
We just don't know where to go, and
No, I know,
I
I know.
survived on 5 hours
And
sleep,
they woke me up. Yeah, that's hard to do.
and she's a nurse,
We want her wide awake.
Well, definitely, you don't want her working on you, and she's only had 5 hours sleep.
It's not working. And I worked in bars for 20 years. And I've lived close to them, and this is crazy.
Hopefully we give you some suggestions. Thanks for your time.
I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the letter. Thank you.
I got the work.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
We'll have to take a recess. We've got Mark to come up next, and then after that, we should take a short recess.
Good evening, Your Honor and Worship, Council. I'm here tonight. If you don't know me, I'm Mark Ruoff. I work for AECOM, the town engineer. Work under Jesse for the most part. What I'm here tonight to talk about is Ridge Road, East Ridge Road actually. And it's a preliminary concept design at this stage, and we want to get your input before we take this into detailed design, as we want to have construction start as soon as the end of Heritage Days. So we want the tender results will have to close and come to council before the last council in July. so I've brought some simple drawings here just to keep it simple and quick, because I have a tendency to talk a lot. Bob will tell and turns up. Oh, so the first figure one, just shows the existing ridge road as surveyed. We've had the survey done. And this is you'll see some dimensions there, 8.13, 7.8. That's the actual width of asphalt from liquid gutter to the edge of asphalt, from liquid gutter to liquid gutter. And what that does is basically there is no parking on that street at all. It's an extremely tight area, as you're probably aware, and it's in really bad condition. So one of the things we were looking at is rebuilding the road. And whenever we look at rebuilding the road, first thing we do is we look on figure 2, things that don't look so great underground, because the last thing I want to do is put a brand new road and then dig up the street 5 years later to replace the sewer. And through our cammering program and discussions with Dennis and the town foreman or superintendent, I don't know its title anymore. The compliance officer. The sanitary sewer in this area will be at its age, or will be at its age before the failure of this road again. So it's my recommendation that has to be replaced. You could probably do the last part. You could probably do spot repairs, but you're not going to get in there for another 15 years or 20 years before you have to rebuild this again. And by that time, we might have dig ups. So we might as well get in there and we have the underground crew and do it all at once. So that's the intent, is to go back from basically 3rd Avenue and take it right back into Lakeside Boulevard. Now that would be tying into Lakeside Boulevard, which we just finished, but we haven't done the second lift of asphalt. So it's not that bad of a deal. We also want to install we have a dead end water line on 2nd Avenue there. There's a hydrant and the water line just ends there. Wherever possible, we try removing that, because no matter how good of flushing hydrant we have at the end, we always have sediment build up in the bottom. And when you turn on those hydrants over time, you'll see those come out black, because there's just stuff starts filling up and stuff. Our treatment system's fine. We have chlorine in the water. There's no issue with it. But we try to avoid it. It's just another safety mechanism. So by looping that, we'll remove that problem there, and also strengthen our water network in that area. So that's basically what we're thinking on the underground. On the proposed road, we originally were trying to put in a 10.5 meter asphalt top with curves of 2.5, which would give us 3 lanes and a separate walk. And when I got the detailed survey, I looked at the grades and the existing infrastructure, and it's cost prohibitive, would be an understatement, to do it that wide. So what I've come up with is, instead of trying to make 3 lanes there, what I've done is 2 lanes and parking. Now, in a residential street, you usually will have, on our town's current residential streets, which are 10 meters wide, look better, that's parking on both sides, plus a car. And it's actually wider than the City of Calgary. The City of Calgary standard is 9 meters wide, which is parking on both sides and 2 lanes. So what we're proposing is 2 3.5 meter regular lanes with our curbs on either side, and a 2.5 meter parking, which gives us basically, now where we put the parking on what side, and that depends on where we are on the road.
I think it's, okay.
This is the concept right now. One of the things I want back from you guys is to understand what your input is and what you'd like to see here. This is not set in stone yet.
And this figure here, figure 3 in Ridge Road, you're contemplating on parking on Ridge Road itself, like I'm thinking in front of Kentucky Fried Chicken and Smiley's and that area there. And with this parking, if it was proposed or done, would that accommodate the big trucks?
Yeah, the road would be built to handle the heavy loads that would be going through this area, because it is a heavy load zone. They park there now. They just park in the ground. They park on the side of the hill there. If you can see parts where they're right next to if you go out there and drive, you'll see that it's actually vertical on Highway 1. And they're just driving up and onto the grass or onto the thing. So what we want to put is curbs on both sides. So it defines where they're supposed to park. They're not supposed to go up on the road. They're not supposed to tip themselves up like this or go into the side and help with the drainage. Because the reason the road's failing is we don't have great drainage.
2.5 feet, 2.5 meters for a parking lane, is that wide enough to accommodate the transport trucks?
Yeah, normally it's residential would be 2 meters. Like a normal, like we went to the city of Calgary, you'd have your 2, 3.5, which is 7, and then you got basically a meter, 7 meter and a half on each side. So you squeeze it right down so they can go down to 3 meters each lane. So they are wider than a normal parking lot. A big rig is probably only 2.3 meters wide. So we have, it will accommodate it. It is accommodating it now when they push it out. And you'll see when I get to the detail, that's what I've done. One of the other aspects of this is proposed a sidewalk from basically the lane behind the station all the way to Lakeside Boulevard, a 1.1 meter lane. We ran into some issues with that. Right in front of the Kentucky Fried Chicken and KFC and Dairy Queen there's 3-phase power and Talus and Shell utilities. And based on the budget, I don't believe we should relocate those. So what that means is we keep those the same, we put the sidewalk in front of it, and then we put the 9.5, and if you look there, that pushes us right against the light poles. And then I really have no room to push the light poles close to the highway. So they're going to be right behind the curb, if not right at the curb. So it's really, really tight. It doesn't give me any flexibility to really adjust it. I'm going to have to go back into the park.
Really, we only need a sidewalk from 2nd Street back to Lakeside Boulevard.
I'm just going from what I was told originally.
Council had a question.
Yeah,
I see you got, Mark, you got a narrow here safety issue to that access onto Ridge Road for Number Highway. Is that proposed to maybe close that, or?
Well, so I've reviewed the studies, and the Alberta Transportation has a study done for this area, done in 2002, I believe. The EarthTech out of Edmonton, so now it's part of the AECOM. So I've got a copy of that report, and they're going to close the slip lane out here, and I'll explain why. If you come off Lakeside Boulevard and you turn on Lakeside Boulevard onto Highway 1, and someone's coming down Highway 1 going through the green light, there's a chance of a conflict right there. That's why they want to close it. That's their issue, because that's Highway 1. Our issue as a town, because we're responsible for Ridge Road, is the same concept. Someone coming off Highway 1, moving straight in to go see Tim Hortons because he knows it's right there, goes straight on an angle. Some guy that stopped at the stop sign didn't really see this guy because it's really hard to see when you're sitting down there in a small car. You're going this way, because I've done it almost, and you have to stop in the middle of the intersection. This car is going this way. So what I've gone up with is kind of a concept. It's not the next stage. It's not actually what we do. I have to get my transportation engineer to get the actual size. The concept, these are big semis. So one of the issues is if you put anything in that big wide expanse, you gotta make sure you get the big trucks around, because that's what's going to use that. So we put a concrete island and then possibly paint lines around it. Now the actual size of that and the details of how the geometry of that, that's through a transportation engineer that I have on my staff to look at that. But the concept is here, instead of being, now if the car comes in, he has to turn 90 before making the left, right? He can't boot across. That gives this guy a chance to see him coming down. There won't be a stop sign coming off Highway 1 because you can't back up traffic onto Highway 1. There'll be a stop sign going onto Highway 1, and there'll be a stop sign where they currently are. But we're not going to change the stopping situation.
You do that wrong curve instead of the straight.
Yeah, those are.
You can still accommodate the trucks because they can, drive over.
Yeah.
But you know, it all, but at the same time, it also is not very comfortable for cars to cross it. But, they still have to come around this way.
Mm-hmm. So that's where I can get the transportation engineer to say, okay, that's kind of the width, and this is the exact geometry of it all, to make sure that doesn't happen. So that, in my mind, will help alleviate the safety issue. The other safety issue, if we go back on here, is the access to the Fish and Wildlife and right on that intersection. Because no one's expecting anyone to go straight there. right? If you're coming, I've been through that intersection many times, I'm sure you guys have been through it many more times. How many times do you expect someone to come off Highway 1 and go straight into the Napa or the Fish and Wildlife? They don't. This is an issue because this is something I need to inform you if I'm going to close an intersection, but you're the ones who are going to get the. I'd like to close that if possible. They still have another access just farther down. And looking at it, there shouldn't be a problem. We might make it a little wider to make sure that their trucks can get in there. They do have loading bay, but looking at the movements in there, they shouldn't have a problem loading their dogs. So that's one of the things I'd also like to do to improve the safety of that intersection. The other issues are drainage. So we got to try gaining more grade. You can see that right in front of the station there. There's some issues with ponding and right in that area. It's a balancing act because right now it crossfalls, and I know why they do it. So I'm going to try making a regular, either reverse that to bring up my grade on the other side, or do a regular grade on there to stop that drainage from going across, and then have a proper drainage in a catch basin ties into the drain at the end. There is a manhole in the corner, but me and Dennis don't know where it goes. So we got to figure out where it goes. We have no idea. We think it might go into the highway. We're not quite sure. So
But there is no storm under that sort of shows that much.
No, but there's a manhole in the corner there.
Yeah. Are we going to put storm under there now?
No, because there's a slight storm, kind of a culvert storm off the corner there. You'll see a grate in there.
Yes. And
we'll just improve those and make them go into the ditch and maybe have to improve the ditch a little bit. To get better grade to get that water raised in the sub-basin. We're also looking at some sub-drain issues in that it's really tough because this basically road is built in a ditch, which I can tell because a meter and a half down, we're on topsoil. So I'm running into, and that's why one of the other reasons to replace the sewer, because I'm going to rip out that topsoil in that area. In the other area where we have the topsoil under the bridge, it was some geotextiles and get over that. The other issue with putting a sidewalk across the whole way is in front of that little restaurant. What's it called? Smiley's. Basically, they're parking on the road.
Yeah.
Right? And same with the station. They put that hydrant is on the town road right away. In the town road right away. So if you're out there, you'll see that where they think their parking lot is a town right away. So when I go in there and I put in a sidewalk and I say, okay, 2 meters from that property line, I need a foot to adjust my grades. I got a 1.2 walk to the top, another 0.25, so I got 1.5 meters, 1.6 meters, and a foot. So there's my 2 meters to my lift gutter. So if I leave my lift gutter basically where it is and I go back the 1.5, all that new concrete they put around there is gone. And when I go to that Smiley's restaurant, they lose all the parking in front of their place. Right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just telling you what will happen. So you're not taking surprise when all of a sudden these guys phone you up and say, you put a sidewalk there and I can't park in front of my place. That's what will happen. Right? And there really isn't much. And if they continue parking there, I don't know how they're not going to stop parking over top of the sidewalk. Right? Because there's not enough space there for me to put a tree or a barrier or something to prevent them from. Might be able to.
Well, it's enforcement. It's going to get them to put curb stops on the inside.
Yeah, but you look at the space between their building and the curb space, there won't be. They'll maybe be able to do parallel versus perpendicular or others, right? So it can be done. I'm just trying to inform you of the situation when they come back, because I'm pretty sure they'll come back and say, well, now I can't park my cars there where I always park it because you put your sidewalk on my property, and you go, no, it's not on your property, it's on the town's right away, blah, blah, blah. But
Question through the chair. Are they aware of this yet? To the station and Smiley's, are they aware of the?
No.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we're going to have discussions with them, and I think I want to accommodate them as much as possible. But I was one of the strong supporters of the sidewalk going along Ridge Road. I continue to be that way. Nothing has changed my mind in that issue. I feel that this is a safety issue, and yes, without a sidewalk, there's a parking lot to ride through, but I don't necessarily find parking lots the safest place to be walking through, and that's why we have sidewalks. And this is something that we are doing not for the short future. It's for the long haul. Our town is growing, and we need a sidewalk there. This road is got to be fixed up. And personally, I love the concepts here. I really appreciate the idea of parking. I know that was something that we spoke about in previous council meetings. I find it terrible to have all these establishments on Ridge Road and have no place to park for these large trucks. So kudos on putting that into it, Mark. Do you anticipate, the question I have though is, do you anticipate, what would be the time frame on a job like this, roughly?
Time frame?
Yeah.
It will be to get it constructed?
Yeah.
So it's a couple weeks to do the underground. We basically will get it done before the end of November 15th.
Okay.
So that's my plan. The idea here is we've always had a schedule in Strathmore. You either do it before Heritage Days or you do it after.
Yeah.
There is no in between, and we've done it both ways, and they both work. What you're worried about, and I understand, is Park Lane. When we started in October 15th, or at the end of our construction season, when the canals were down, and that was a huge risk, and we missed it by a day. And so we literally missed it by the day. I mean, I was yelling at the contractor, "You have to be up there tomorrow." "I'll be up there the next day." I'm like, "No, it'll be -20 that day." He's like, "No, it won't." It's -20 that day. So we try to get it done. There might be some landscaping and stuff that has to be done next year, and second is asphalt, of course, and all those kind of things.
What I'm more worried about, other than that, is these businesses' ability to maintain their businesses during the construction period.
That will be part of the specifications. What we try to do, because most of these businesses have 2 accesses, or for example, the station, you can always go to the station parking lot, and those ones. Where you get into trouble is the new Tim Hortons and the Shell,
Yes.
but they have 2 accesses. So we do halfway up to the center of the one access, knock that one out, get that passable, go to the other side, because we're not doing underground in that area. Okay. And then when we get in front of the Dairy Queen, and that gets a little bit trickier to do that, but I think they can still come off of 2nd Street, which is not very convenient for their business.
Is the curb across the Shell gas station, or is that on town? Is that on town land?
The curb on the road?
Yes.
Yes. And in fact, that's 2 meters off the property line. From Little Gutter to the Ridge Road curve there.
Yes.
So my intent at that point would be where you see there's one tree that's going to go right at third there. But basically add a 1.2 panel behind that curb. I'll actually replace the whole curb and gutter because it's in bad condition.
So that means that they have to do a sign in too, doesn't it?
I'm going to work around that. What I'm going to do is bring it.
No, don't worry around it. That sign is, it's cause for accident every day, all day long. Because it creates a really bad blind spot there.
Okay.
People coming out and people coming from the left, neither one sees the other.
Yeah, I think we had the posts are on, like if you went vertical, the posts are on their property, but I believe they have this big panel. I looked at it the other day, I'm like, that wasn't there when we took the original survey, so I think we just have two posts on our survey shots. So, one of the things that's about, and I guess the cross sections are on the last page here, just showing you what we're trying to do here. And there's 2 basic cross sections. So I'm working on a right of way that's not a right of way, but basically from your property line in front of the existing businesses to the edge of asphalt on Highway 1. I have as much room, I have less room there than I do in the local roads in the rest of Strathmore.
Say that again, please.
So from the property line, in front of the businesses, say the station or wherever, to the asphalt, the Highway 1 asphalt, the edge of the asphalt, the road there, that's 15.2 meters. The standard road right-of-way in the town of Strathmore for a residential road is 15.5 meters. So, and I don't normally have a meter in it, anywhere from 0.75 to 4 feet, I guess 3 to 4 feet of grade break to deal with. and draining in the bottom of the ditch. It's an extremely, and topsoil underneath it onto the substructure. It's an extremely difficult job.
So are you gonna have a fairly high curve on the Trans Canada side?
I'll put a standard curve on that one, and we will have to, this is one of the things, we can do all the design, we can make it work for us, and AT can say, well, I think they'll work with us, and we'll do our best. We're going to improve the situation, because there's erosion there, we'll take pictures, we'll show them all that kind of stuff. But we can put, there is an option, there's a difference amount. We could probably put a 1 point, instead of the 150 curve, we could probably put the 250 curve you see on the big major arterial roads on that side, which is the other option.
Because isn't there going to be runoff from snow on that and that affecting that?
Yeah, so that's either going to have to be, depending on the slope, it's either going to be state sod or it's going to be paved asphalt, right? So, and I might have to put in, AT might maybe make those W rails that you see on Park Lane, that kind of same thing on their side when they have that steepness. I'm surprised they don't have them now. So that'll be part of my argument saying you should pay for those because they should be there anyway. So
Absolutely.
they won't listen to you. Help with the arguments. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of what I'm doing here, and I want to make sure I've got the right instruction here. One of the things that Dennis did mention to me that was on Lakeside Boulevard, there was a connection he wanted on the sidewalk going north.
Oh, yes. That was supposed to be done when they redid the road there.
Yeah, and one of the issues there is it's that road, Lakeside Boulevard ultimately is getting widened to 4 lanes. It's sometime in the future, maybe 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know when, but when it does, it will be widened. There's a little corner, and it's just really tight to fit in. We can put a concrete on that corner, but it's on their property, right? Probably. I might be able to get the forming on it, and it's really tight. So we could put something in there. And what size? We put a 1.5. So one of the things I want to make sure is clear also, this is not the big walk we're going to go on Ridge Road. It's the small residential walkway.
Yeah.
The one that's on Lakeside Boulevard is the collector one, the 1.5, the 5 foot one versus the 4 foot one. Yeah. So that's what I'd like to. If we're going to put a sidewalk on Lakeside Boulevard up that, I'd like to put the 5 foot one. Right? But I need direction from, because Ridge Road goes. That's not on Ridge Road, but my direction was from council, from Jesse was Ridge Road, and he said it's after. I want to make sure I'm clear what you guys, as the town wants.
It's from the Catholic school to the right to the Catholic.
Yeah. I thought that was approved.
Yeah, but it's never ever happened.
Could have sworn that was approved. But anyway, yeah, I think we certainly want it done.
You're talking way up to that parking lot, basically, right? The access to the parking lot.
Yes.
That's the one.
Yes.
Right to the corner of by the school.
Yeah. The corner of the school, and then up there's a access, and that's where you want to take that sidewalk to? Or do you want to take it all the way up?
Past the Petrocan.
Yeah, but
There's already one in front of the Petrocan.
There is?
Yeah.
Okay, then from Lakeside back,
Yeah.
was it 5th or 6th? 6th Avenue?
6, all the way up to 6th Avenue.
We can check that. We
Yeah.
can check that.
Yeah, I'll have to check the right of way, see that we have. One thing I don't want to put a walkway if we're going to rip it out in 10 years or 5 years. I understand there's a safety issue with kids.
Move it over a bit.
Then we got to go and see. I'm sure it won't be an issue with the school, but we'd have to move the fence, right? I don't have the survey to say, because that's why there's that little eyebrow in there. It's because that ultimately.
The widening would happen on the east side of it, wouldn't it? Because that's all town land on the east side.
And we usually try to go, because the school ultimately, the plans are so long term, that school ultimately will take widening on both sides, depending on what happens. We've got power lines on the other side, 3-phase power, right at the corner of the old fire station, So, and it's really tight in that corner as well. So we ultimately do that. There's different options. So I will add that in. We'll get clarification. Make sure you talk to Dennis, and he'll give direction to me on what exactly where they want to go from where to where, and I'll include that. Okay. And then I want to make sure that if there's any concern about the width being 9.5, that's not wide enough or the sidewalk, that we are going to be putting the sidewalk, and we'll make every effort to accommodate the businesses within reason, of course. Because sometimes you just have to. We can do anything that you want. It just costs money. We can make guys work at night and on the weekends. But I don't really want to make this project unreasonable either.
The sidewalk width along Ridge Road, 1 meter is by, is there a bylaw or?
It's in our current standards.
Code?
Our current standards, and we have the City of Calgary standards. So we have two different sidewalks and 3 different pathways. So our sidewalks are basically it's 1.1 with that, because it's straight face. They have the 0.1 on the top, so they're considered a 1.2 meter wide walkway. They're not great for if you have those big monster strollers. You can't walk one of those. You can walk one of those, but no one else can walk beside them. The other ones that you see in front of on Lakeside Boulevard, and that is the 1.5 meter, 1.68, depending on how you want to classify it. These ones are narrower. It's not a big one. It would be like, well, Mr. Sobel here talked about a safety issue, just get people off the road. Yeah, I think so.
Makes sense to me, anyway. Any other questions?
I'm good with this. At this stage, looks good, Mark.
Great, thank you. And we'll get progressing on this, and hopefully you'll see us with the tender results under budget on July the 18th, or whenever that second council in July is. That's when we'll be bringing this forward. Great. For approval. Then that gives them 2 weeks to mobilize, and then they'll be able to go into contracts right after the purchase date.
Perfect.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Your 5 minute recess? Okay, so I'll call the meeting back to order then. And so under old business, land sale agreement.
Your worship, on May the 4th, a motion was made and by Councillor Best and carried that would see land. I'm just looking for the exact land sold in the industrial area of Strathmore. Sold. If I could find this, I would.
Page 18, Councillor.
What page?
Page 18.
Thanks.
Top.
Thank you. It was moved that council direct administration proceed with the sale of land located at Northwest 122425 W4M to Strathmore Developments Inc. for the total price of $4,375,700, excluding GST, to be paid by vendor take-back mortgage and paid from lot sales on a prorated land area basis. It was also moved at that time by Councillor Fuel that council accept the letter of intent from Strathmore Developments Inc. and that the Chief Administrative Officer sign the letter on behalf of the town. We are now at a point of being able to proceed with that, with an agreement to purchase and sell. We have that letter in our possession. It has been prepared and is awaiting a signature, and I would move that the agreement to purchase and sell in this regard be signed by the Chief Administrative Officer on behalf of the town, and that the legal land descriptions which are presently missing from that letter of agreement be added when they're available tomorrow.
Any further discussion, any questions?
Your worship, I think we need the mayor to sign that.
And just the mayor?
The mayor and the chief.
Okay, then if we could add the mayor, as well as the chief administrative officer, sign the letter on behalf of the town.
All in favor? Carried. New business, Heritage Days. Heritage Days policing.
Your worship,
Page 32, then,
council is being requested to sign an agreement with the RCMP for extra policing over the Heritage Days long weekend, and there's a letter attached from Sergeant Marzinek for the mayor to sign. And the town does authorize this each year, but we do have to report the council for authorization.
yeah, so I'd ask for a motion.
Just one question, Your Worship, if I could. This is a joint operation in regards to funding for this this extra policing between ourselves and the Ag Society. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In that case, Your Worship, I move that Council approve the letter of agreement for the Heritage Days a long weekend with the amount not to exceed $10,000, and the mayor be authorized to sign on behalf of the town.
Any questions or discussion on the motion?
Your worship. How's the breakdown on that joint cost on? Does anybody know?
I believe it is the Ag Society contributes $1,500.
1,500 out of 10? That doesn't sound very jointly to me.
I believe it was meant to be 5,000. I have to look at the exact numbers.
Well, I guess that's got nothing to do with this motion, but can we,
No, because a subsequent bill is sent to the Ag
To the
Society.
Ag Society.
that sounds like right to me.
In what way is that?
It's joint between us and the Ag Society that are coughing up to $9,000 to $10,000. Am I correct on that? And their portion is 1,500,
I believe so.
and we're paying 8,000 plus.
I would have to check that number.
She will check it for you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Any further questions?
Well, Your Worship, a question to the chair, Councillor Wilkland. Are you probably concerned about the percentage breakdown as far as why we're paying, for example, 8,500 and the Ag Society only 1,500? Has this always been the same kind of percentage, same kind of breakdown?
I believe the original intent was that it was supposed to be 50-50, but I would have to go back and check what had happened in the past.
So, if I could, Your Worship, I think that's something that we can certainly raise with the Ag Society in the future. And with all due respect, don't really know if it has anything to do with this motion.
It's Heritage Days, it's all over town, it's not just at the grounds.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why, with one of the most affected areas being
The Valley Center, whatever.
and in the immediate area, a kilometer space around here. Yeah.
Now, as far as the breakdown goes, I'm not sure what it is either. I know it's always been, the town's portion has been higher than what the Ag Society's portion was. But exactly what it is, I don't know. That's always worked out in the past, and I'm sure it'll work again this year.
I wonder if that's something that Councillor Fuel can raise with, as he's a member of the Ag Society's.
I can do that. I can do that, Councillor Sobel. I will do that.
Good. Anything else on this? Ready to vote? All in favor? Carried. RCMP staffing, page 35.
We have a request to make a request to the Minister for Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness for additional municipal RCMP municipal policing resources for 2012 and 2013. And I believe we're going to request the addition of one regular member to the detachment. And just for council's information, this does not obligate us to add an additional member, but if we don't write the letter and send it in and we decide that we would like the additional resources, we would be unable to obtain them.
We forfeit our
That's correct.
opportunity. Council.
Your Worship, I would just make a comment that we did forego our anticipated additional member for 2010, 2011 due to budgetary cuts. Or is it 2011 to 2012? Was it? Was this year? So 2011, 2012, and. It was with reluctance that we did that, but it was also it had to do with budgetary cuts. But the fact remains that this town is continuing to grow. We, as a council, I think it's imperative that we recognize the fact that as the town grows, with it grows the level of crime. That's just a sad fact of life, and I would strongly support that. We put in for an additional member for 2012, 2013, and which would obviously be further discussed at budgetary talks.
Okay, so
I would make that motion also if there's no other comments that we approve that we sign a letter of intent to the RCMP. Indicating our desire to have an extra peace officer added to the detachment in Strathmore for 2012-2013.
any other questions? If not, all those in favor? Carried. Lambert Center upgrade. Chuck.
Evening, Your Worship and Council. What you have before you is some information related to the Lambert Center upgrade. In 2010, the Engineering Operations Department was asked by the Director of Community Services with Town Council to conduct a building envelope assessment for the Lambert Center. The reason being there was some water infiltration coming into the building. There was WFCSS, the library, and as well as the Happy Gang who reside in that building as occupants. We're concerned with the amount of water and some mildewy smell, and there was some evidence of mold in the building. So once that building envelope assessment was completed by Reed Jones Christopherson Engineering out of Calgary, it was determined that we do have a significant water infiltration problem in the building. That being said, the direction was to ask the Engineering and Operations Department to go for a request for proposal from various different contractors in and around Strathmore as well as Calgary to get some competitive pricing on what would it take to repair the building. 5 individual companies were consulted. Unfortunately, only 3 of them were able to submit pricing. And before you, you have the 3 bid prices that were submitted. One by Ride Down Strathmore Glass out of Strathmore, another company, Great Plains Construction out of Calgary again, and SIS Supply and Install Systems out of Calgary. The scope of work was generated by myself and submitted to all 3 contractors. And I would recommend at this point that SIS Supply and Install be awarded the contract to repair the building as per the scope of work submitted.
Any questions from council? Councilor Hamilton.
I take it SIS is from Calgary?
SIS Supply and Install is based out of Calgary, that's correct.
Thank you.
And are you familiar with their work, Chuck? Are they reliable? They've been.
I'm familiar with the work that was actually supplied with the portfolio of their company. They've been in business since 1991. As coincidence would have it, I actually spent some time working for them back in the early 90s as a construction framer. But that has no relevance on why I would be recommending them. I would be recommending them based on the price as submitted, as well as the portfolio that was submitted down.
Councilor Rocky.
Your worship, through the chair to Chuck, SIS and Right Iron are not too far apart. I know you're recommending we take SIS. Are you familiar with any of Right Iron's work?
Familiar with some of Right Iron's work. Although it's good work, I don't have any issues with Right Iron's work. I would be more concerned with the budget at this point because we were given $80,000 as a lump sum to deal with the Lambert Center this year. $30,000 of that is based on years prior in their budget. So it leaves a bit of a shortfall as it is already based on the $80,000. So if we creep into that $30,000, we may end up short at the end of the year on regular maintenance and building repairs.
I'm just concerned for a minute here that we're not jumping into the lowest bid again like we've gone through here in the last 4 months on some other stuff.
Understood.
And on top of that, Right Hand being a local company, probably employs local people, I would imagine.
They do. There are basically 2 individuals that work with Right Hand Strathmore Glass. It's a father and son. I would be concerned with the construction schedule. That would be my only concern. As Mark Rule was indicating to earlier in his presentation, our construction season kind of centers around Heritage Days. If we were to go with either Ride on Strathmore Glass or SIS Supply and Install Systems, I would be recommending that we have them schedule work to be completed prior to Heritage Days. And SIS Supply and Install would be supplying crews to do this work, as well as they have a very detailed quote indicating scaffolding boarding in the Lambert Center to deal with the skylights, where Right on Strathmore Glass didn't indicate that in the quote. So I'm guessing that this may come up as an extra cost as well.
Just one last question for you, Chuck. There, are you sure Great Plains Construction was looking at the same job? Or?
You know, it's funny. Well, man, when that one came in, I laughed out loud. I'm sorry. I mean, no disrespect for the contractor. I didn't feel that he portrayed himself as a true professional, even when I met him. There seemed to be some inexperience there. And I think that came through in the quality of the quote that came through. It was a single page with a price at the bottom of it. There was very little detail in the quote.
When's the start date?
I would like to award council to award or based on being able to award the contract tonight, I would be willing to contact them tomorrow to have them start ordering windows and then getting busy on the project. And from what I understand, I feel it would be best to order the windows because that's a turnaround time usually of about 6 to 8 weeks before windows can be delivered to site. So in which time the contractor can take care of the foyer area, the skylights, the roof, that sort of thing, and then by the time that work is done, the windows will be ready to be installed. So it should be a fairly seamless schedule, I would think. I can't answer for the contractor, obviously. That would be what I would be recommending in their schedule.
Question through the chair to Chuck. Do we see the Lambert Center, the library being closed for any long period of time?
No, I'm expecting that the entire building will be fully operational through all of it.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions of Chuck?
Your worship, I move that council accept the information and award the contract SIS Supply installed systems with the amount not to exceed $55,000, including GST, and that the council authorize the mayor and chief administrative officer, to sign the agreement on behalf of the town.
Those in favor? Carried.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chuck.
We just don't have legal description, we don't need it anymore now. Okay, named advisory committee.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Your Worship.
Good evening, Jerry.
A little background. Council must approve all community names. A request was submitted by the Centennial Committee for consideration to the Names Advisory Committee on May 3rd, 2011. The proposal is to name a park located in the downtown area between 109 and 115 2nd Avenue. The request is shown in your packages as Schedule A. On May 4th, 2011, the Names Advisory Committee was electronically polled to consider the application for the name Heritage Times Square. The electronic responses were 4 yes votes and 1 no vote. Also, 2 members of the committee suggested alternative names. The committee provided direction to the addressing officer to prepare a report for council with the recommendation on the names submitted. The following comments were received by the Names Advisory Committee recording secretary in regard to the name of the park in no particular order or committee member name. First choice for the park name would be Centennial Park. I have no problem with proposed name Heritage Times Square. I am okay with the proposed name, but also feel Heritage Square would be just fine. I am in favor of the name submitted. I vote yes to the name submitted. A recommendation from the Names Advisory Committee to Council to approve the park name of Heritage Times Square or an alternate name for the area shown in Schedule B. Thank you.
Your worship, I'll make the motion that council approves the park name of Heritage Times Square.
Any further discussion? Everybody knows where this park is located?
We will soon because it's coming alive down there, I'll tell you.
All in favor? Carried unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Okay. Policy 1304.
The town of Strathmore is no longer offering building inspection services through a contracted agency due to some unforeseen unfortunate events. And the town is at a point where it is financially feasible to employ a full-time building inspector administration has researched the salary range for a level 3 safety code officer under the building discipline. The attached grid showing your agenda package falls within the research salary range. And I do have one minor amendment. When conducting further research, rather than calling the position a building inspector, it should be called a safety codes officer, building.
Pretty
And,
fancy, huh?
Yes. And administration is asking that council approve the attached policy 1304 as amended.
Your Worship, I'll make that motion that council approve policy number 1304 as amended.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor? Carried. Council representation on the SGC Arts and Recreation Foundation. Is the administration prepared to give us some info on that?
Yes, Your Worship. The Strathmore Golf Course has started a planning committee to investigate the potential for expanding the golf clubhouse and meet some of the community's needs. They have included a letter in your agenda package as well. And just in brief summary, after an overwhelming response, the planning committee struck another committee in which the groups that wanted to be involved in this project could have input. This committee is referred to as the SGC Arts and Recreation Foundation. It is comprised of 20 plus societies and other interest groups. And at their last meeting on Wednesday, May 11th of 2011, it was moved that a letter be sent to the town of Strathmore asking for a representative of council to be appointed to this committee.
Is council prepared to appoint a member of council to this committee? And so, Council Sobel.
Your Worship, I'm not sure that any one of us can add to this very capable group that are doing some wonderful things in town, and certainly their aspirations and their intent is to be admired. And seeing that they are asking for a committee, council representation, and that this is certainly going to be something that will affect our community, I would venture my name forth to try and assist them any way I can as part of this council.
So who would like to make a motion, unless there's anybody else that would like to be on that committee?
Your Worship, I move that council appoint a council representative on the SGC Arts and Recreation Foundation. And that member is to be Councillor Bob Sobel.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Schedule C of the Marigold Library Agreement.
Your Worship, there are 2 copies of Schedule C in your agenda packages, and this is an amendment to the Marigold Agreement. The document outlines Marigold's levy rates for municipalities and library boards for 2012, 2013, and 2014. And the change or amendment to Schedule C requires written notification from 60% of parties to the agreement as outlined in Clause 45 of the Marigold Agreement. And I have checked into what we paid this year and last year. And in 2010, we paid $470 per capita, and this year we paid $470 per capita. And they are looking at an increase in 2012 to $490 per capita, in 2013 $525 per capita, and 2014 $560 per capita. This would be paid directly to the Marigold Library System.
And that 560, and what year does that take effect?
2013.
2013, 2 years from now.
Or sorry, I'm sorry.
14.
2014.
Is that a substantial increase?
20 cents
90
per
cents,
person. I haven't done the calculation.
25%.
$2,400, no?
But we can only deal with what's coming up for this next agreement year, I guess.
Well, this agreement would be for all 3 years, which is
All
2012 through to 2014.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah. And one of the explanations and rationale is their costs for external resources have increased, and that would include things like fuel for deliveries, computer hardware and software, electronic resources, different levies, staff benefits, and a number of.
Councilor Fuel, are you on that?
Yes, I'm on both the library board and Marigold. I represent the library board on Marigold. I know one of the things that has been mentioned as far as an expense that's coming up is the libraries want to be prepared and proactive as far as the new ebooks and readers go. So that's part of the equipment that is going to be looked at. They want to embrace the new technology and make it part of the library system rather than be surprised by it. So that would be some of the accounting as far as electronic spending.
Well, is there anybody else that would comment?
Having been on the board for Marigold and the library board, I mean, I know the value that they have in this. And all you have to do is go up to the library to know how much it's used, and it is a great partnership. Our library depends extremely heavily on Marigold for staying in touch with the present and possibly the future benefits of ebooks and all sorts of stuff that they're doing up there. So nobody likes to see things go up, but costs of everything go up. I would move the council approve Schedule C amendment to the Marigold agreement and authorize the mayor to sign the amendment on behalf of the town.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, now page 64, Marigold Library System, 2010 audit of financial statements. Maybe we should look at that.
Your Worship, after having perused and gone through these reports with a very critical eye, I would move that Council accept Marigold Library Systems 2010 audited financial statements as information.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. Marigold Library Annual Report and Visions for the Future. Councilor Fuel, you probably have something to say about that.
I was at their long service awards and listened to a lot of good speaking on the history of the Marigold system. I know they've done a great deal of work as far as enabling the different municipalities to order books at a much lower rate or cost than they would if we were trying to do it on our own as a library. They love what they do. They're very, very positive about everything. And I think one of the things that's been really good is they've been able to cut down a lot of travel hours for various people from various communities by using a video conferencing method. So I'm interested in it, and it's been a real eye-opener for me as far as how much work goes into what they do, and especially the long history and how they achieved what they have as a system, a library system throughout Alberta.
Anything else on that? If not, ask for a motion to.
Your Worship, I move the council accept the annual report and the Vision 2015 Plan of Service from Marigold Library Systems as information.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Seniors Week, page 17.
Your Worship, especially this year, or the year of our centennial, I would happily move that council proclaim the week of June 6th to 12th, 2011 as Seniors Week in Strathmore.
All those in favor? Carried.
It's also known as the Dave Hamilton Day.
I take council if you will lead the parade.
Okay, next one, Project Hope. Councillor Solo.
Yes.
If I can.
Okay.
I've received information from Hope Bridges Society that they have been awarded a substantial grant through the RCAP program. Their society will be engaging in a feasibility study, and it is intended to talk further on core values, namely diversity, sense of belonging, learning and creativity, engagement, partnership, citizenship, choices, relationship, and all differences and ages. They're exploring the development of a space for the arts to come alive in our community and intend to complete a retrofit on an existing building. And they are asking us to please consider this a warm invitation to town council to approve the participation of a councillor on our steering committee, which will meet 4 times as this process is completed. As we know that Bob Sobel has volunteered his time in support of the arts, we wish to request his presence on this committee. We would be grateful for his wisdom and enthusiasm. So they're requesting that you place Councillor Sobel on their committee as a town rep for 4 meetings.
And who would like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion that Councillor Sobel be on the committee for the Project Hope.
For the feasibility study, correct?
All those in favor? Carried. Street sweeping. Councillor Hamilton.
That's just through the chair to administration, just need an update on the current situation of their street sweeping, please.
Yes, I prepared a very short memo here, and I will read it off very quickly. On Monday, May 16th of 2011, I had a very polite conversation with Mr. Williams of DBI Services. The result of the conversation was that the town of Strathmore and DBI Services mutually agreed to terminate the contract for street sweeping services. Due to circumstances beyond their control, DBI Services were unable to meet the terms and conditions of the contract. We wish Mr. Williams well in his future endeavors on behalf of the town of Strathmore and express our regrets that this did not work out as expected. Mr. Williams was very professional and cordial throughout the entire conversation. And current status, B&M Grader Services has been retained by the town to commence street sweeping activities, and Chuck Rinkus has provided me with B&M Grader Services work schedule, bearing in mind that they would like to have served sooner. However, their efforts will be slightly delayed due to previous commitments to surrounding communities. So beginning tonight, May 18th, Mr. Cooley will commence sweeping the non-residential section of downtown in an effort to get a jump start on his schedule. Friday, May 20th in the morning, he will begin on 2nd Avenue working south towards Highway number 1. E&M Greater Service is not expecting to work through the weekend, although they will be working Monday, May 23rd, with signs being placed 24 hours prior to service commencing. And administration will update council as we receive additional information. And I'd also like to thank Chuck, Public Works, and our enforcement officers for their efforts. And I'm not sure if Chuck has any more information on that.
All I know, I talked to Bill earlier tonight, just before the meeting, and further to what Linda was stating, Bill will be sweeping on Monday, the Victoria Day holiday, and he'll have the signs up on Sunday. So we will be fully functional by Monday.
Thank you.
Councilor Sobel.
Just a comment, Your Worship. I think in a situation like this, it's very easy for everyone to just say, maybe you should be sticking with what you know, or not going in this. But the fact of the matter is, it's policy. It was policy. It was policy created by previous council to tender these out. Tendering is it's done for a number of reasons. It's to keep the price down. It's called fiscal responsibility, and with it has to come some due diligence when we're choosing our new contract winner. In this particular case, quite honestly, there were members of this council who vouched for the company that is no longer with us. It was due diligence done. It was just a situation where it didn't work out. This is not a matter of life or death. It's something that's going to be resolved, and we apologize to the townspeople for spending a few extra days cleaning up their gravel. It will be done, and we just ask for a little patience. We do have everyone's pocketbook in hand when we do this, though, in mind, and that's why we have a tendering process.
Question through the chair to Linda. Are we on the hook for any money with this company that we've replaced? Do we have there been funds that we've had to pay them, and is all that going to be taken care of relatively easily?
During the course of our conversation, I asked them to please supply us with an invoice for their services to date, and I believe legally and ethically and morally we are obligated to pay for the services to date. I don't have that amount as of yet. I can't imagine it would be that high of a cost.
Any other questions? Councilor Rocky.
Your Worship, I think, how should I say this the right way? I think there's a lesson to be learned here if this comes around again, either on street sweeping or whatever comes up in the next year. But just necessarily because that happened to be the lowest tender that we looked at back in January, and I admit we were being fiscally responsible there. Having talked with some other people here in the last week, you can rest assured his tender would have been right up there with the highest tender for next year after he found out what he was doing this year. I just think, even on some of the stuff we were looking at tonight, I think we should take caution on our side whenever these things come up here and not necessarily look at the lowest number on the page. There's obviously reasons for that. I don't know these particular business people that own this company, but we did talk to somebody that works for him, and they have never done this before. So maybe they didn't do the homework in Strathmore, maybe they didn't know what they were getting into, I don't know, but
Just one final comment following up on Councilor Sobel's comments being fiscally responsible. I hope that people do realize that during the course of our short tenure that we have had savings in other departments with other major issues and major funding through due diligence with negotiations by the mayor and councillors, there has been major savings for the town. Thank you.
Councillor.
I just wanted to add one thing. I know back at the time that we accepted this, I would like to point out that Councillor Rempel spoke quite strongly about maintaining the service the way it was, and I think that should be pointed out that his experience was telling us one thing, and we did try to do the best deal we could for Strathmore financially, and I think we've all learned from this, and we'll look at things much more carefully.
Well, thank you for that. Anything else? Administration, have you got anything on?
Nothing, Your Worship, just that we'll keep you as up to date. Carries the information we have.
There's a couple items here under committee department reports. 9A, United Way.
Your Worship, United Way just had 3 investment committee meetings. We were capably chaired by Mr. Brad Walls. We went over all the applications. There was $124,000 being asked for, and we had $45,000 to play with. So upon review of the applications, there were 4 of the 13 that did not qualify as far as we were concerned. We did come up with some final decisions, which the board meeting last week asked me to make public tonight, which will only take me a second here. The following successful applications are, and all of these total up to $45,000. SWAT, Strathmore Wheatland Addictions Team, we decided to give them $3,000. Family School Community Resource Counseling Program, we decided to give them $3,000. That's under Golden Hill School District. Excuse me. Golden Hill School District, under the Drug Prevention Program, we gave them $5,000. Hope Community Covenant Church School Fuel Program, we thought this was one of the excellent programs that were presented to us. These are the ones where they do breakfasts for kids that go to school hungry. They asked for $7,000. We gave them what they wanted. We awarded them $7,000. Accredited supports to the community, $7,000. Project Hope, $5,000. Growing Family Society, Growing Opportunities, $3,000. Growing Family Society, Bridging the Gap, $9,000. And the last one, Step 1 Housing Society, Step 1 Support Group, we gave them $3,000. Again, we were in a tough situation with a maximum of $45,000 to play with at that point in time. There was money over and above that, but that was already directed to groups that we had no control over. And that's my report on that.
Very good.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lockey. Parks and Birth Forest.
Your Worship, this was me who brought this on, and after speaking to some members who've been doing some work on the birth forest, they wanted me to ask whether or not it was feasible to look at a parks committee. Some of their concerns were things like the birth forest, where the trees were bought by credit union and there was a discount from Eagle Lakes. They were concerned that perhaps the birth forest wasn't getting the necessary water, and they were wondering why, if irrigation is to that area, why it couldn't be hooked up. Since that time, I've talked with people, and I just wanted to bring it forward for discussion and maybe some clarification from Chuck, if he's here, if he could offer us anything, any words.
From the perspective of watering, I'm sorry?
From the perspective of the department you work, not just the maintenance, but the operations.
Okay, so in terms of watering parks and that sort of
Yeah,
thing?
well, there was like general concern or questions about watering practices, and if there would be a need for a parks committee, how that would fit in with the day-to-day runnings of the town.
I think certainly I'm not going to answer for Jesse at this point, who's my director, and I'm certainly not going to answer for our park supervisor, but from the perspective of the operations department, I don't necessarily feel it might be in the town's best interest to have another committee on top of our parks department, which is already supervised by a full-time employee, along with our seasonal staff. There is some questions around irrigation, being able to irrigate some of those parks and trees. Last year, our park supervisor, Doug Clark, did try to water some of those parks with irrigation from the residential irrigation system, and hit roadblock after roadblock in dealing with degrading system, damaged system, and it was a lot more effort than it was really worth at the end of the day. We purchased a water truck in the last couple of years that we use to water trees, smaller areas, the bird forest, some parts of the cemetery. So I'm not sure if another committee is the best use of town's time.
Also,
Well, I would just comment that I think our parks people do a wonderful job with their parks, and I'm very proud of our recreational areas and our parks. If there's, it seems to me, it sounds as though there's a specific concern about the trees that were planted at the Earth Forest. All these are mulched. So it's my belief anyway, from my limited knowledge, that this will prevent a lot of the water from evaporating and keep these. But I don't know exactly what the condition of these are, and I'm wondering if perhaps administration can come back to us at a future meeting in the near future and advise us what the watering schedule for our trees at the Birth Forest is, and whether or not, on the advice of our arborists, whether or not, or our horticulturists, whether or not they are being sufficiently watered.
Well, what I can do as acting director this month is I can consult with Doug Clark to find out what his watering regime is, exactly as you have stated. Find out what his watering regime or schedule is for these trees through the horticulturalist and park staff, and I can respond to senior administration with that report.
Great. Yeah, but we certainly don't want to lose those trees. I mean, that's quite a feather in our cap. That's a beautiful area that we've got going there, and when I go by it, it looks pretty good. But I'm not a horticulturist, so.
No, I think that would be good. Thanks, Chuck.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
are you satisfied with that?
I think I am. I think we'll get more information as the time goes on.
Okay, thank you. Questions between councillors or to administration? If none, council invitations.
Leadership, there is one invitation here. And it is for the Chinook Charity Golf Tournament in support of the Foothills Aim Society. And they are inviting the mayor or a council member to participate in the first annual Chinook Charity Golf Tournament in support of the society, the Strathmore branch. The tournament will take place on Friday, July 18th, 2011, and they're asking that council determine the response.
July 8th or 18th?
8th.
July 8th.
Friday, July 8th.
We have no golfers on council here, so I don't know how, might have to send somebody from administration.
I think there's a $100 fee on this too, so I accept this as, recommend that move that we accept this as information, and anybody who's interested can get a hold of them with a $100 check and play golf.
I'll be away fishing in Rocky Lake, Manitoba. So I can't make it.
Well, we're ready to go looking for $100 check. Okay, well, accepted information, all in favor? Carried.
Motion to adjourn.
Favor? Carried.
Whoa.
Finally. And you